through this afternoon.
All right. So let me reshare this thing. I was trying to get the recording thing to start. Okay, so as Nicola said, today is the 30th of June. It is the last day of the IFMA calendar year. So the IFMA year runs from July to June, and therefore it's a transition for us. So we normally most years, we do a wrap up. And thanking the board and then we talk about what's happening in the following year and introducing new board. And in some years we talk about strategic plans, and because this is a new Caribbean chapter, we do have a bit of a strategic plan. So let's move quickly because there's a lot to cover. So what I would say is where we have sections that involve any of the committee chairs or any of the other members of the board, just jump in and talk about it, right? So it's not me talking all the time, all right? So the year in review, this year was a huge year for us. This was the board. The board of directors is for all the chapters is 4 people, and then all of the other people are non-executive, right? So there's the executive board who is voted in, and you would have seen we had an election recently. So Edward, that's me. Richard Gunpart was the vice president. Cindy Guevara, the treasurer, she's also the immediate past president. And Jackie Gittins, who is here with us as secretary. And I want to say just start off by saying I want to really thank the board for the dedicated um, service. Everybody on the board has been on the board for a few years, and there are no newcomers in this group. And really thank everybody for everything that they've done. Um, the the committee chairs this year in 20. So if we go back many years, we often struggle to get committee chairs to head committees. Some years you had one or two, and then it drift away, and then some years you had none, and it ended up being the 3 or 4 people in the court trying to do everything. Sometimes you have one or two people helping. Last year we were very fortunate, and we build on top. We build on as Khalil Gibran and these guys say, we stand on the shoulders of the people who come before. So we continue to build, and the momentum has been building in the last few years. So this year we actually had some, the most important committees had chair people, which is events and membership. Alana has been around for a while, but we do pay her as like she's a chair, but she's a kind of contractor. All right. So Jackie was the events chair, and is still very deeply involved with with events and Jackie. I hope that continues. But because of her work demands and her family demands, she kind of shifted out of it around January this year. And Nicholas, who had been helping her, stepped into the role. So that's why I put an arrow there. But they're both still working together very well. Bianca started as membership chair, very new to the organization, and has been trying to reach out to members and try to encourage membership engagement. And then I have retained the professional development chair position. And we'll talk all about that as we go along. All right. So some of the highlights for the year. Uh, I mean, those of you who have been on engaged with know about all of these things. We had a few webinars. We had World Workplace 2025. There were around 20 Caribbean people there, and quite a bit has happened there. We had a couple of focus groups. We had a couple of limes. We tried to collaborate with each other and have some networking and so on. And it was a very good event, and we really want to promote that this year as well. We did a facility tour, the Bureau of Standards, very well done and attended. We had, as I said, some virtual technical meetings about surveying, national occupancy standards. We did went off on a different track and talked about well-being in January, conquering burnout, right? And that was very interesting, and I think we could try and do some more of those. Then we did a big virtual town hall to launch the Caribbean chapter. We'll talk about that a lot more later. And We also did a professional development information session, which seems that that might be start to become an annual event. And World FMD, we had our panel discussion. Um, and then we had a World Environment Day lunch and learn, which was the first time we tried the lunch and learn um, methodology where instead of having a big meeting in the afternoon, we just do something at lunchtime when people might be at the desk having a sandwich, and we just say, come on, listen to something for half an hour. And I think it went well. Um, a quick, quick technical session. And it's something we could in the future do in between the bigger afternoon session. So I think it went very well. And Richard Gunpat spoke about sustainability. And then, of course, we have today's meeting. So we did quite a few events, and I think we're still building momentum. A couple of other events highlights I mentioned World Workplace, and we're gonna toot our horn a little bit. And in addition to us getting together as Caribbean people, we also won the small chapter of the year. Cindy, in her presidency, did a lot of work in terms of putting together that submission for the prize. And so again, it builds on the prize really was for the previous years, and years plural, but more leaning on the previous year. But they awarded it in November in World Workplace. So we all were up on the stage, and then Richard was. This is not to do with the chapter, but because Richard is the VP of the chapter, it's very relevant. And he is the head of the chair of the Global Sustainability Community, and that Sustainability Community won Community of the Year. So he was and then of course I won the Distinguished Member Award, which Richard had won the previous year. So I could toot my horn a little bit there. So as a chapter, we that was a highlight for us. I mean, it really was a smashing highlight to finish off World Workplace and for us to be on the stage collecting these awards. And kudos and well done to everybody. I mean, we can still talk about it, right? Um, so highlights in professional development. Professional development has really gained momentum. We used to do three, four, five students doing essentials of FM and a FMP maybe once a year. Now we up to doing two FMPs a year and capping the classes at 15. The last cohort, we ended up with a little bit of a mix up. So we ended up with 16. We don't want to get too much bigger than that. All right. And then for the first time ever last year, we did the CFM model of courses, which is the all the other competencies that's not included in the FMP. And that is actually a series of courses that if not only launched maybe 3 years ago, Akian, right? So I think we're one of the first chapters to actually do it as a chapter. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. It's not widely offered by
Yeah,
chapters as yet. That's
yeah,
correct.
great. So there may be one or two others who do it, but if they are, it's certainly a handful. So strategic highlights, and I wanted to record this here for a historical document. So for years, we spoke about as an idea. We were a tiny chapter, 30, 40, 50 people. I think gradually got to 60, but it went back down during COVID. We talked about wouldn't it be nice to have a Caribbean chapter or have a Caribbean, a broader Caribbean, maybe a Caribbean council or something. And that kind of died away when other chapters started to form in the Caribbean. And and then certainly COVID definitely killed the talk. And so anyway, last year at Workplace, the IFMA asked to have a focus group and basically ask the question, how can we expand interests in the Caribbean? And of course, I think it was Vaughan who may have piped up and said, well, we've spoken about this for years. So it bubbled back up. So very quickly, and there seemed to be a lot of consensus in the room from a lot of the other countries because there were people from, quite a few countries there. And so they said, let's go for it. And we said, let's go for it. And so we started having discussions. I did a paper, well, the board did a paper because I did the draft and the board vetted the draft. Making the proposal. Mary Ressler, who's the director of membership at IFMA, guided me. And so we submitted that in November for the January board meeting. And we were informed on the 14th of January that the name change from TT to Caribbean chapter was done. And we needed to change some bylaws, which we then went and did by poll and got the bylaws changed. And therefore created the Caribbean chapter out of the Trinidad chapter. The Barbados and Cayman Island chapters were amalgamated in. So 3 chapters amalgamated into 1. And here we are. All right. Massive strategic change. I think it's the first chapter that crosses nations. First multi-country chapter in the IFMA Global. And it has created a lot of excitement at the board level and at the headquarters level. And I think around the world, a lot of people seem to be interested, watching with interest and supporting us, because I'm involved with quite a few of the councils and communities, and they all ask how we're doing. So on February the 1st, we issued a welcome letter. That kind of, from the membership standpoint, that was the first that they heard about it. And we just took some time to craft everything. And end of February, we did a town hall, which had 70-something people in it. And we kind of formally launched it online. And then between March and May, we did some strategic sessions with, what we did is we appointed a country coordinator. We will talk about that later, from every country who had members. So the board then had all of these extra people as a voice. So we try to have as many people as we can in the strategic sessions to have a voice from every country, to really, because you can't plan something like this until you actually have people from the Caribbean in it. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg situation. So we had to put the cart before the horse and actually form it and then strategize. All right. And that strategy is still evolving. Okay. And then in May, we had the first board elections of the new of Caribbean IFMA. But we still, because it's a continuation of the old TT IFMA, we are abiding by the bylaws as if we were just continuing, as in, president and VP only have 2-year term of office is maximum, and we are abiding by that. All right. So membership highlights. The end of the year, I put a question mark on the 48 because the 48 is the figure that I had from end of May, and I don't have an end of June figure for 2025. But it was around there. We now have 107. I think yesterday was 108 members. So it's been gradually going up, because it took a jump when we added the Barbados and Cayman Islands people. And then gradually been growing since then, and a whole bunch of the Grenadian people from FCL jumped in, and then it's been growing since then. So we have members from 10 countries. And yes, you see the USA in there. That's because Deb Romaine, one of our, she's on the membership committee, is semi-resident in the USA, and but she's a member, and that is something that we discussed strategically, is that can we also represent the Caribbean diaspora? And the answer is yes, we can. So people from Canada, US, Europe who are Caribbean can also join the chapter. All right, but we represent 28 countries, primarily the English-speaking Caribbean. We also included like the ABC Islands and Suriname, Belize, etc. We did not include Dominican Republic, Cuba, and Puerto Rico, because as big, large Spanish countries, they will probably have their own thing going. And the French countries we left out, but not by rule. If somebody from one of the French countries joins, great. It's just that it's a different culture. So that's the highlight from membership. All right. So that's 2025, 26. 26, 27. We had an election, and interestingly, we had we normally struggle to get people to nominate themselves or to get nominated. And this time we had quite a few nominations, interestingly. And the last few years, we've had a couple of nominations for VP, but not for anything else. So I appreciate everybody who went up for office and ran for office. It's always a difficult thing to do. It's always a nervous thing to do when you put yourself up. And I will say that for those who may not have been successful, let's have a conversation because that's how I got involved. I ran for office and I got no votes because nobody knew me. And then I volunteered and I got involved in the communications and I got involved in the Saturday board meetings. And then I went to a VP. But by that time, it was like, yes, Eddie, that's a good idea. And in those days, we never had nominations. So then when I did go for BP, I got in. Same thing basically has just happened to Nicholas. He volunteered last year. People got to know him. He did the hard work. He ran for VP. Others ran for VP as well, but he edged out. So congratulations. Richard shifts position from VP to treasurer, and Trella joins us as the first Pan-Caribbean person. Welcome, Trella, and welcome Nicholas to the executive. And Richard is a returning resident. So that is the board this year. And we will be meeting in the next couple of days. All right. And to take it further, Nicholas, we have still as events chair. Bianca Shade still as membership. We are creating a sponsorship committee, and Richard is going to head that. And Alana's still in communications. We are appointing Akian as strategic alliances, and Lawrence Buddha Singh, who did go up for VP, as scholarships. And scholarships and sponsorships will work very close together. And of course, I will stay in Prof Dev. And we talked about, and we did our strategic planning, we talked about creating a publications committee to support membership events and communications. That's a vacancy. Anybody want it? Raise your hand, send us a message, and we'll start to create that committee. All of these committees require members. So I know back in March when we did the town hall, several people said, yes, I'm willing to volunteer. Now I'm saying, tell us where you want to volunteer. And let's get you into these committees. So we've had a few months to strategize and to get accustomed to what the committees would do. Now we need to kind of populate them. Many hands make light work. Now we have the country coordinators, and I don't think we need to have any plans to change anybody unless they want to be changed. And so Bahamas, we have Marvin Jordan, Michelle Strawn from Barbados, Michael Alboy from Bermuda, John Santiago from Cayman Islands, Trella from Grenada, Trella. We could decide if you want to stay as a country coordinator since you're the secretary, or whether you want to appoint it. We want to appoint it to somebody else. Sandra from Jamaica, Lawrence from St. Kitts, and Deb from the USA. All right, so those are the country coordinators. We don't have any country coordinators from Guyana or Suriname. We have one member from Suriname, and he can't handle the country coordinator position right now. We have not made contact with the 3 or 4 people in Guyana who are members. We don't know them. So it's kind of hard to appoint somebody as country coordinator. So that's a to-do for us. Plans for this year. Nicholas, you want to talk about the event plan for a few minutes?
Yeah, no problem. So we're kicking off early, which is this Thursday, which we saw a lot of people that have signed up for, which is Beyond the Storm, building resilience. So this topic will cover the hurricane preparedness, the strategic part of dealing with the hurricane and logistics, and then the aftermath, the cleanup, the safety, the inspection, stuff like that when it's finished. So that's our first webinar event taking place this Thursday. The month of September, we are planning to do a country visit or tour with a virtual chapter meeting linked together. So we will be reaching out within this year. We're going to do two visits like this. We'll probably reach out to that country coordinator and start to put things in place as early as next week to plan out that properly. October month, we plan to do another lunch and learn. Most likely, will be on a topic something similar to earthquakes, preparedness, something along the lines of that. We saw great feedback with the last time we did this, and we think it's an opportunity to help the members gain that information. November this year, it will be World Workplace Conference in California. We have this month normally last year we had a lot of, as Eddie mentioned, Caribbean people coming up and participating in World Workplace. So uh, that month is generally a busy month. Early in January, we're planning to do a segment on AI, how we can use it, how it could strengthen our what we do already in the workplace. February, again, next year, we'll be doing the second country tour. Once again, we'll announce that closer to the date, which country and what we're doing in regards to that. In March 8th, we'll have International Women's Day, Women in FM. We plan to do a virtual panel for this as we go along. March month, professional development sessions will start. We'll do the session, just bringing everybody up to par on what we offer, how they could sign up, and just keeping the membership aware of the benefits of the certifications and how they could participate and sign up for these. We have World FM Day. We'll do a virtual panel similar like what we did this year. June month, we have World Environmental Day. We'll also do a session for that. And then next year, June, the 22nd to 24th, IFMA Caribbean there and IFMA Global, we're going to be doing a conference Eddie, I don't know how far along that is, but you'll probably update us.
I actually have a slide specifically to talk about that.
Right, nice. So yes, so this is going to be a conference that is being set up and organized that we're looking forward to. So you'll highlight us more on that. And in June, we'll have our chapter meeting assembly to close off 2027. Additionally to this, just to let you all know, this is the firm up calendar more or less, but we would love to get the experience of individuals. We would love people. The lunch and learn are just a quick roughly 20 minutes presentation on any topic that you want. We need to bear in mind that yes, we are part of IFMA Global, but IFMA Caribbean, we all have a unique experience being members of the chapter in this region. There are lots of things that we can learn from each other, as well as the IFMA website, the portal has a lot of topics that we could pick from, and we're always looking for people to participate and do a presentation, lunch and learn, stuff like that. And we also would like in this year, I mentioned it to Eddie and we'll firm it up. We would like to take the opportunity to do some 5-minute short videos with some of our members, just introducing yourself, giving us a little bit of your background that we'll be able to post and share with each and everybody on the chapter so we can get to know each other. We know we have the chapter meetings and the webinars, but we'd like to feature some of y'all and what y'all are doing in your own country and how that ties back into FM for the Caribbean. So if any of y'all are interested in participating in any of this, event, you could email me at events@ifma Caribbean. We'll put it up and share it in our WhatsApp group. So feel free to reach out or touch base. And we're always looking for volunteers and support and speakers. Yeah.
Lovely. So, case in point about the lunch and learn, even though this is not a lunch and learn, is that Dr. Smiley, who is on the call with us now, just finished his FMP, but he speaks on energy efficiency and whatnot, and as well, I feel I'm not doing you proud. Plus Sandra, plus Lawrence, all agreed to just and a fairly short notice to come and do this presentation about hurricane prep and using Melissa as a particular case study example. And so I was telling Nicholas yesterday, time to do water earthquakes as a specialty area, right? And let's see who amongst us has some specialization in earthquakes. So if anybody knows anybody who does, then we can do a lunch and learn on earthquake preps, because when we had the earthquake in Trinidad back in 2019, there was building damage. And as opposed to hurricanes, where the people who get hurt most are the rural poor, and big commercial buildings tend to get hurt less. In the earthquakes, it's the other way around. It's the big commercial buildings that get hurt more. And you see that in Caracas, where it's the big high rises that are falling down. So yeah. So that is Thursday. And then just World Workplace Anaheim, California. It is Disneyland. It's right next to Disneyland. And there's just some pictures I posted up of us linemen, right? We get together, right? There's people from all over the Caribbean. We get together, and we always, last year, we got, I think, 20 people to do a group photo at the end and the last day just before the closing ceremony. So yeah, we would like to encourage you all to come to Anaheim. It is an experience extraordinaire. It is a completely different experience, and you'll see IFMA FM in a totally different light. And we tend to get together as a chapter, as the Caribbean people, now as a chapter, and try to get together and network and do some fellowship and stuff. And but we want to encourage people to consider going. I know it's expensive, it's time consuming, but it's a fantastic week. All right, very educational, and you just get to know everybody. So we are announcing the first IFMA Caribbean Conference. Now, this started as the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, which I'm also on the FM committee. We have done 8 conferences over the years. One back in 2019, we did it in collaboration with the chapter and as a joint venture. And the previous ones were just the chamber, but IFMA Trinidad was always kind of involved, in the background. And we used to go to IFMA Global to get speakers and stuff, but it was the chamber that did it. And when we did one last year, some of you all were there. We did a smaller version. Krista Dudu, the outgoing chair, today's her last day in office. She was our keynote speaker, and she was so impressed that she sent a message and said, "Would you all want to consider doing an IFMA Global conference?" So if you all look on LinkedIn, you would see that they have this IFMA Global Africa conference in August. They have IFMA Global Southeast Asia. They have IFMA Global Europe, right? So they said they have IFMA Global LATAM. So they said, do you want to do a IFMA Caribbean? So it's probably going to be called IFMA Global Caribbean, but it's being hosted by us. So I convinced them not just to have the chamber, but to have the chapter as well. But I made the suggestion on behalf of the board because the board discussed it. And they said, yes, we'd love to have the chapter involved. In fact, the chapter should be the host. And even though we don't have the horsepower, the secretariat and the staff and stuff, the way the chamber does and the way the head office does, we are the nominal host. So they agreed to that only last week. We still have to sign the memorandum of understanding, but I think we are within a week of signing that right now. And we have already confirmed the dates, 22nd, 23rd of June next year. We will start it in Trinidad because, again, the machinery is already in place with the Chamber of Commerce here. If future events could be different countries, well, that's something we could work on. And then we do 2 days in conference. One day we do facility tours and events like that and do some additional things. It will be done at Hyatt in Port of Spain. It's really the only place of that caliber where we could do rooms and conference hall and everything. And we will work on getting block rates. We work with Carl and Copa to get flight rates, etc. I know that doesn't work for everybody, because some of you not coming from regions where Carl operates. But so that is it. All right. And I am announcing it, even though we haven't signed, because it's going to get signed in the next week or so. The chamber already announced it in a session we had there a week or two ago. So, guys, book your time, plan your trip, and let's get together in Port of Spain next year. And we think, the bigger we think that this is going to be a game changer. For FM, it's going to be a real kick for the Caribbean chapter in terms of growth, in terms of advocacy for professional FM in the Caribbean. We are going to be looking hard for sponsorship, Caribbean-wide sponsorship. There's going to be a call for speakers that is going to come out from IFMA Global. They're going to manage the speakers selection, except they want us to be in the committee too. And that call for speakers is going to, anybody from around the world could come as a speaker, right? Of course, there's going to be selection criteria. So I think it's going to be a game changer. It's not going to be a few of us trying to organize a thing. It's going to be a big game changer. And IFMA is very much behind it. So I think it's really going to benefit us as a chapter and us as individuals, right? So come on down. Professional development. We think that we could move from having 2 cohorts of FMP to 3. So we've moved to where, as I said, 3-4 students every year to 15 students twice a year. And this year, for the first time, we already have 3 people registered for November. In June. In April, it was people in May and April, May, June already registered for November. We never had people registering 6 months in advance. So the momentum has picked up. Hopefully it stays. So we're thinking about, we're going to budget for 2, but plan for 3. So we're shifting the dates. We've kind of locked in this end of October to early December, and we used to have it locked in April, May. So we bring in the April, May one a little earlier, and then we're going to add a 3rd cohort in for June. All right. People keep getting knocked off. All right. So we're going to try for 3. All right, because we prefer to add more cohorts than add more people per cohort. It gives them more options, and smaller classes, we find we have a little more intimacy. If it gets too big, it gets a little more difficult. We are going to be doing a professional development promotion program and focus it on the sustainability for facility professional. Now, this is something that we keep putting in our calendar, and then it never gets traction. So we're kind of hoping with the Caribbean reach now, we'll have a little more traction and we can actually do the course locally. There are several SFPs in the Caribbean. One of the more recent people is Jackie, who got hers very recently. And we also want to come back with the Certified Facilities Manager bundle of courses in July. I don't think we're having the July next year. I don't think we're having one this year because we didn't quite get the traction. I think we need to promote it. There was pent-up demand last year. I think we have to promote it across the Caribbean. So this is the plans. Membership, of course, the plans are, continue to engage, outreach to underserved countries or unserved countries, because there are many countries that don't have any members. And then, of course, trying to encourage the engagement with existing countries. Now, this is part of what Nicholas talked about when he said that we want to do some, and this is having talked to people from different countries who kind of said, going Caribbean kind of meant going virtual. So it's how do we do on the ground meetings where you do something like a facility tour? So the key thing is that you do them in different countries. So yes, people aren't going to fly to a different country to do it, but let's say hypothetically, we say, let's go to Jamaica and use Sandra and her colleagues and network to get a group of the Jamaican FMs together, try and encourage them to join the chapter, do like a facility store, and then you could do a technical meeting virtually where everybody else comes in. And you pick countries to do that. I think those kinds of things would help us in terms of getting unserved people in and growing the groups on the ground. So as a good example of that, Grenada, we have 10 FMs who are in the chapter, and they got together, their company, and held a small conference. and it got the government to support it and everything like that. And I was invited. I went over for World FM Day, and it was great. It was really well put together, not an expensive affair, and it was great. And they had 100 people in the room, right? Because they invited people from all government ministers, this veterinary, medical school, some of the hotel people, the guy from the Bureau of Standards, the person from the National Training Agency, and they had a pretty very solid group of speakers. And I'm not suggesting something as grand as that, but certainly that group of 10 were happy to have an event. And so we want to continue that. And then that could start a move around the Caribbean, like a road show. All right. We would also like to launch some SFP scholarships, FMP and SFC scholarships for members as a membership benefit. And we still have to get the scholarship committee working so we could figure out the terms of reference. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And increasing publications, as we talk about the publications committee. Anything else, Bianca, on membership?
I think you covered most. We are looking for volunteers to reach out to keep up the numbers. We have a steady stream which we hope to increase in terms of the sign up, but we also want to reach out to those who membership may be lacking and waning, and just continue to extend the benefit of being a part of the chapter as well. So volunteers would be very much appreciated.
Yeah. One of the problems that all of the components of IFMA has is you get people signing up and joining, but then you also get people who drop out. And trying to find out why somebody's going to drop out or why they drop out is always difficult because a lot of times they're not engaged and sometimes it's hard to get in touch with them. So that's what Bianca's talking about in terms of how do you reduce the churn. And all of the components have the same problem. And yet we still grow. So that is it for that. Plans. The next one is, first let me stop share. Then let me kill this PowerPoint. And let me get the next PowerPoint. So where are we now? Right. So what we don't normally. All right. So Nicholas has put up an email address. Bianca, you want to also put up your email address at membership? Or you could just WhatsApp us on the group chat as well.
Sure, I'll put
If
it up on both. Yeah.
yeah. If they don't
Yeah.
know how to email or who to email, just put it on the WhatsApp and one of us will catch it. The board has a fairly large, strong engagement. So having formed this Caribbean chapter, we thought let's do some strategic planning and not just, well, what do we want to do next year? And I'm always mindful that, and I got caught in this trap my first time as president too, where we try to plan to really move the earth in a year. And we get caught in what's called the Venetian blinds, which is you say I'm going to do this and then you do that and then you do that like a sawtooth. So, but let's plan for the future. We have a brand new entity. We don't know how big it could get. We have a lot more volunteerism happening, and therefore that becomes like a flywheel effect, I think. And so let's kind of start casting our eyes forward for the next 3 years. Where do we want to be? And by no means is any of this cast in stone, because it's kind of hard to say where are you going to end up. You kind of want to go over there, right? But let's try and cast a little bit. So we looked at the mission, vision, and values, because it was just all too easy just to adopt what we had. We had 3 chapters that had 3 different visions, missions, and values. Well, these visions and missions, and then you had IFMA Zone, which was revised a couple of years ago, and I think many of us didn't necessarily realize it. So we had many iterations of going through this and kind of ended up here. And we got to the point of where we were arguing about a word here and a word there, and whether this phrase is better than that phrase. And at the end of the day, they all really meant the same thing. So we kind of just made some hard decisions at the end. So our vision is to be the leading voice of facilities management in the Caribbean built environment. And our mission is to lead the Caribbean in the management of facilities by encouraging the growth of FM professionals. Very much synchronous with IFMA Global, but not the same. Our value proposition, and this is straight out of IFMA's playbook. We just copied but the value proposition. I just thought it was a nice phrase. IFMA helps you advance personally and professionally through career development, learning, networking, opportunities, and leadership skills. So it gives you some good kind of pillars of where to focus. But our core values, again, we have adopted the IFMA core values. We have not, we looked at it and nobody thought we should change it. IFMA's core values are social responsibility, stewardship of the environment, transparency, and excellence and growth. And we decided let's stay with that so we don't have to change it. Because I think as an agent of IFMA, why change it? So we did a SWOT analysis, and yeah, we had long lists, right? So because we had like 12 people all putting together their take on things and different countries having different perspectives. So I tried to distill it down to the common factors and the most salient ones and try to summarize them as best we could, because we can't really have a SWOT with 15 and 20 bullet points. So our strengths, we have Google as our chapter. So strengths and weaknesses is what is inherent in us now. What is inherent in us now, right? We have global credibility, as seen by us getting all these awards and the fact that many of our members have had held positions and volunteer positions globally. We have global credibility. When we go to workplace, they talk about us as being a little chapter that could. We punch above our weight, right? So we are well respected. We have an experienced core team, and that is the two teams that I showed you as a core team, and by extension, the country chairs, people like John Santiago and Michelle and Lawrence and Trella and so forth coming, all part of the core team. And many of them with a lot of experience. And then by extension, add in people like Aki and Giselle and Vaughn, who are past residents, who are still involved and still give guidance. And I talk to them all the time, and it's still very much in key. We have digital reach. Here we are. We have established networks, and still trying to really reinforce that network, right? We have an established event structure that's worked for us well. As I said, we always feel it could do more, but it does work well. And we have our in-house professional development. There are many chapters who cannot do their own professional development courses, and they have to go and hire outside instructors. And or they just don't do it at all. They just don't. Right? That's just not part of their agenda at all. Right? Weakness. One of our weaknesses is low engagement. Not unique to us at all. Limited volunteerism. Hopefully that's going to change a bit. Low sponsorship and partner support. So that is again where we have to put some effort. And then fragmentation across countries. So whilst we pushed hard to get a cross-country chapter, it is a weakness we have. So let's be honest, it is a weakness. Whereas we all have a Caribbean heritage that is very strong and a collective culture, it is hard. Jamaica is not, I can't drive down the road and go and see Sandra. It's a 5-hour flight or a 3-hour flight, right? And it costs money, and even just to go to Grenada, I could almost swim faster than I could get on an airplane. So opportunities and threats. So opportunities and threats are what can affect us from outside. All right. No, opportunities are not strategies. People talk about opportunities and they mix them up with strategies about, well, we could do this. So that's not an opportunity, that's a strategy. Opportunity is something that exists already. So there is growing demand for professional development in FM in the Caribbean. And we've seen that, right? The opportunities there. Partner organizations are opportunities. The chamber, universities, etc. We just have to find them, right? And now we're looking across 28 countries, right? FM tourism, a great opportunity. So the conference in point, if we can bring people into the region, whichever country is involved, it helps. It helps us as FMs because we now get to interact with people from outside. That always helps us. And then relationships with regional organizations is an opportunity. I don't think we have strong relationships with regional bodies yet, but there's an opportunity there, right? How can we leverage that? And then they have large untapped FM population. We got a list from IFMA of something like 162, 165 FMs who are not part of the chapter, even now. And they're FMs who are IFMA members. And there was a list of about 900 or 1,000 people who had interfaced with IFMA's website over the last 2 years in some form or fashion who are not members yet. So we know there are people out there who are interested, but they're not members. And that's part of why I created a chat group called IFMA members at FMs at large, Caribbean FMs at large. Those are people who are not members. Right. So some of you are in both groups, right? But the reason we have that, we don't post as much stuff on that because some things we want to post just for the members because that's a member benefit, or some things we want to encourage people to come in. So like I would send them the link for today's thing. They say, come and listen to, maybe you'll join, right? So there's a large untapped population. And then the threats, of course, and we need to be cognizant of the threats, which is we're not valued. We're not valued by organizations or owners still. Other professional organizations are a pull on us. I mean, I'm a member of PMI, Project Management Institute. I have a PMP, but every year both fees have to pay. So if I have to choose, some people have to choose. So I've talked to students, potential students who say, well, I want to do the FMP, but I want to do the PMP as well. So which one do I do? And, so we have competition, right? And then, of course, there's a lack of perceived value as why should I bother to join the chapter? Why should I bother to join IFMA? So we are always struggling, not struggling, but striving to provide membership value locally, regionally, right? And then, of course, we have country variations of standards and compliance that we have to be cognizant of when we're doing our educational events. All right. So broad strategic goals out of that: increase awareness of the chapter and IFMA, increase engagement, grow the membership across the Caribbean, provide membership benefits through educational content, etc. Deepen and broaden the professional development offerings, which we already talked about. So you've seen some repetition, so forgive me, right? Advocate for adoption of professional FM regionally sustainable practices. All right. And then we action these through the committees. So these are the committees I'm proposing, right? It's a growth in the number of committees, but I think now for the first time ever, we can probably actually have people in them that can lead them. And some of them are repetitions of the board. For now, so be it. All right. But as we grow, we could always get more people in that we could take it from there. So membership, we have Bianca, and I put in question mark for members. So anybody want to be member committee, speak up. And so this is a charter, some of the action items. We've spoken about these already. All right. Tapping into young professionals, tapping into IFMA non-chapter members, tapping into IFMA members, non-IFMA members, etc. And a lot of this is, as Bianca has come to know, is just pounding in the pavement. We get a new member alert. So we get a message from IFMA saying, here's a new member. Jackie just joined IFMA Caribbean. And we get a little report. and immediately we send them a welcome letter. Maybe we do a phone call. How can we help you? What can we do to make life interesting for you, etc. And that just, and I mean, let's say you get five a month. That's a 1 a week conversation, right? And then we make sure to put them onto the mailing list, and we send out letters and so on. And the key thing is, how do we capture the people who are leaving? And it is just some day-to-day or week-to-week calls and emails and work and engaging people. All right. And as I said, if you have a committee with 4 or 5 people, it becomes very easy. So the committee goals, Bianca is very optimistic on the goals, and I'm with her with that. So we started off pre-Caribbean at about 50 to 55. We leave it as a nice general figure. We were around there. June 26, we had 108. I fill in some figures there, Bianca, because we did say 3 years from now we wanted to, can we be, question mark, can we be 300? All right. So we put in some interim figures there, as this is our goal to work for, right? So even if we don't get to that goal, let's aim for it. All right. Events committee. We went through the 2027 plans, but basically look at all of the calendar options, events calendar options of more lunch and learns, facility tours, network and fellowship meetings, town halls like this, doing podcasts. Nicholas talked about doing videos, conferences, leadership visits, etc. All kind of wrapped up, and some action items in there. One of the key things that you'll see coming up on each one of these slides, I'm not going to read everything, is polling members and soliciting feedback on what you want to hear, what you want to talk about, and what can you talk about. As Nicola said, how can we get people, within this room, we have a lot of expertise. So within this room, if you have an idea, you want to talk for 20 minutes, even if you don't know how to put it together, give us a shout. We'll help you put it together. Between us, we can sit down with you and help you create a presentation and help you practice it. I don't even mind doing a session on how to do a presentation. All right. In fact, I was thinking about it. So all of these slides you're going to see solicit feedback from members to see what they want to hear. All right. And this is a repetition of what we went through just now, as is this one. So we already talked about that, but I have it separately because this is a more long-term document. Publications committee. All right. So we have communications with Alana, but she's very focused on get the socials out, get the advertisement, the promotions out for the meetings, etc. And she has a specific core of what she wants to do or what she has to do. Membership has started to take on some of the, question of the week type of thing, but that spreads them thin. So we want to have like a bridging committee called the publications, where they can get together and write, edit, or just collate stuff that other people write, to encourage people to write newsletters, white papers, presentations, articles, and blogs, and even just updating the website, right? Just saying, okay, we have these things we want to put on the website, past events and so on. But we need to form a committee. All right. So I'm looking for a chair. If anybody's interested, give us a holler. And then we strengthen that committee. So with a lot of these committees, especially new ones, we have to determine the terms of reference. So it's hard to say, people say, well, what's the plan? Well, okay, well, we need to get a committee. The committee determines what's the plan, right? So we develop our terms of reference. The board will assist of what does the committee want to do and how often they're going to meet and how they're going to operate. All right. So but again, there's no hard rules, right? However, and then we develop some action plans from there. All right. So anybody who's interested. Strategic alliances and outreach. Again, I mentioned Akian. She's here on the call. And Akian is our past president. She's an instructor. She was on the global board of directors, and she's now on the board of directors of the IFMA Foundation. So she's very, very clued in to IFMA Global. So strategic alliances is where we develop relationships with universities. We help them develop programs, governments to help advocate, other professional bodies, and we develop relationships with, for example, PMI, HRM associations, ASHRAE, preferably more on a regional level. We already have a relationship with ASHRAE, right? But how do we formalize it and make it even better, right? And then the public, right? So interviews and articles, etc. And so it's an overlapping committee. So recently in Trinidad, we did an interview on the TV for World FM Day, right? So that's something that the Strategic Alliance Committee would help us with normally. When I went to Grenada, we were supposed to do an interview, but because there was a mix-up with the time of the airplane, we missed the guy by 15 minutes, right? So they were trying to organize an interview, So how do we do it? We go to schools and do career day and talk about FM to kids. We go to when they have their you know, career fair type stuff. We go to do these things. We haven't done much of it in the last few years, but it's something we should be doing. So again, we need to develop these terms of reference. Akin has agreed to be the chair and start to develop some action plans from there. And this is more just long-term, ongoing building relationships. We would love to get a university in the West Indies to get a bachelor's of FM going, and our discussions with them so far have not borne fruit. So we could go back at it. Sponsorship, we asking Richard to take this. He's the treasurer, so it's a kind of good handhold. Richard did get some sponsorship for the chapter a couple of years ago, and that helped the finances significantly. So he's already kind of knows how to do it. And Richard, by the way, from the Sustainability Council of IFMA, has raised a hell of a lot of money for them. All right. So Richard's still here. I'm not sure if he's here, but talking to him.
I'm here.
All right. So Richard looking for committee members. And again, once you get this is not hard work. When I say hard, this is not something that you have to take hours every week. Is it? You fine tune your packages, you go to, you reach out to your strategizer of who you want to go to, you talk to them, you get them on board, and you pull the trigger, all right, and then you maintain a relationship. So with this, we also looking at this becomes part of the whole Caribbean conference organizing, all right. So this committee will engage with that organizing. You want to say anything, Richard?
Hi, everyone. Just to welcome you all. So as Edward would have mentioned, yes, I would have raised some funds for the chapter a couple of years back, and through my network, I intend to, widen that pool and, take it forward. I mean, we depend heavily on the funds coming in to the chapter to do, what we have to do and realize, on the tactical plans and our strategic plans and so on. So, yeah, I just would like to, bring greetings on my side. I'm actually attending an ASHRAE conference in Austin. And yeah, so the theme for that conference this year going forward is retrofitting for resilience. And that augurs well with facility managers, and that's something that we definitely need to pay particular attention to, and this whole thing with climate change and all of that, and ensuring our buildings are built to codes and all of that. So part of my focus is strengthening the collaboration between IFMA and ASHRAE as well, and take it from
Yeah. Time for an next lunch and learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? I think that's a very good topic from the conference. So, and
Yeah.
Richard has organized ASHRAE presentations at the chapter back in already. So
Yeah.
lovely. All right.
Great.
So anybody interested in that committee, holler. Scholarship. I did initially have that scholarship and sponsorship, but let's see if we could split it out. And we have some ideas for sponsorship. Again, Richard might be involved in this. How do we provide, because it does tie to finance, right? How do we provide sponsorship opportunities for our members that could be a SFP either through the foundation or part of the chapter if we get our chapter program going. FMP, where we're teaching that already, so it's very easy for us to provide some sort of scholarship to add some students to the FMP when we do the cohorts. And what we have to figure out is what's the application rules, who's gonna do the judging, those sorts of things. And that's where that's a committee that's gonna be more like a governance committee. They sit down and they work out the rules, they administer it, they say, okay, we call for scholarships, what, who gets to apply, what's the date they apply, who judges it, and then announces it and makes it happen, etc. So that is what we're looking for: a chair and some people to be on that committee, and then we can help. And again, the board will help you to work out the terms of references. We have some ideas. All right. And another one could be subsidies for conferences, right? We may see we have two workplace registration scholarships apply, right? Only for members, not for non-members, right? Having said that, we do have I wouldn't go there. All right. Professional development, that's a strong committee. It remains strong. We have 4 people on it, and we work very well together. We've been working well together for many, many years. And so we've talked about this already. It supports the events committee. It supports the chapter benefits. Chapter members do get, it's like a 15% discount for these courses if you're a chapter member. And I don't think we highlight that enough. So it's like 15% discount for chapter members. And it almost, if somebody was not a member and they wanted to become a member, the discount for doing the FMP is actually more than the membership cost. So it's like, why not become a member? So if you are a member and you're interested, you get a discount. That is a membership benefit, right? So again, we talked about we want to go from 2 cohorts to 3 cohorts, and we want to promote the CFM and SFP to see if we could get a cohort going. All right. And so again, this is a repetition. I want to add in here as president, we are always concerned at the board level, and all the past presidents I could vouch for them in saying this, that succession planning is difficult. And we have a few people on the board and who have come on the board and who are interested. And guys, I had to tell you, you're the future, right? So encouraging people, helping them get onto committees, get involved, that's all part of our succession plan. All right. And it has been difficult in the past. And it is something that we try to mentor the chairs and encourage them, and should expose them to as much as we can, sit in the board meetings, and I add the country chairs, the country coordinators to that, because it's just a way to get involved, and so on. So and then to help them walk them through a leadership pathway if possible. All right. And the idea of providing leadership training is something we want to consider. I don't know how realistic it is, but certainly as a long-term goal, definitely. All right. And then how are we going to monitor strategic performance? All of the strategy we talk about, how are we going to monitor it? So we're going to use IFMA's balance scorecard. It has been used before. It's not a new thing. We're going to just populate it with our KPIs for the year. And we're going to, every time we have a board meeting, we're going to be talking about our KPIs. This is an example of an IFMA KPI that they provided on their website, on their training website, on the leader training website, by the way. So I will split it up as a monthly targets, or quarterly targets. And I've used them before in the biz community and stuff where every month it's easier to report. It has membership changes, it has finance changes, it has all the information, what are our targets for publications, or targets for events, or our targets for engagement or training, and we just monitor it as we go through the year, targets versus actual, and it helps us monitor where we're going to we can actually achieve what we set out to do. And that is the end of my presentations. Any questions, comments, criticisms? Let's open up the floor. What do you all think? Anybody has any ideas we haven't covered or want to question? On the strategic plan or the wrap up for the year? Or everybody wants to get back to Mbappe? All right. Nicholas, you want to carry us home?
Yeah. So once again, thanks all of y'all for taking the time and participating. I look forward to seeing y'all on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Trinidad time, 4:30 Jamaica time. We know the time vary, but 5:30 on Friday.
I think we should
Um,
say Eastern Caribbean versus Western
Yeah,
Caribbean.
I think we have to do that. I think we have to do that. So we look forward to seeing all of y'all. We have a nice session set up for y'all. So thank you once again very much, and we look forward to seeing y'all and hopefully a big participation and volunteer coming forward for this next year. Together, we can really build the chapter even more than it is already. So we look forward to all of y'all participating and supporting. And I know the group chat, Bianca has been pushing to try to get some conversation going and stuff there, but you all just remember anything at all of us are here to support each other and grow together. That is what the chapter is about. So feel free, anything you all want to share on the group, share. Let us get involved with each other. Let's participate. Yeah. Have a good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Good
Thank you.
All right,
night.
All
Sandra.
right. Good night. Thank you.
Bye,
All right.
Welcome
everyone.
All right,
you.
John.
Bye.
All right, Kadian.
Bye,
Jackie.
all.
All
Bye.
right, Cindy. Good to see you. Oh, old board and new board, we had to do a transfer meeting. We never finalized that.
Tomorrow at 11. I
No,
thought
that's promotion. That's
yeah, forget
promotion.
that promotion
We
next
had to
month.
sit down and talk about it's just email transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? Yeah, it can be a 10-minute conversation.
hmm
You know. So Richard, I already pulled the trigger on getting the updated company registry for the officers. Once we have that, we can then go to the bank and get the signatures changed.
All right.
All
Cool.
right, so hopefully by next week we get that from the company registration online system, and
hmm
then the bank might take a couple of weeks. In the meantime, it's hard to give somebody a password to use because you have this thing on your phone as well now.
hmm
So between me and you and Cindy, we will work out how to do payments. I could make payments, but I don't want to make payments unless you and I sit down together and make payments.
Yeah, we probably need to
Right?
do that because I
Yeah.
would need to see how you do it.
Yeah. What I would also suggest is instead of having the board meeting next week,
hmm
we do it the week after. Because why?
14th.
Hold on. We could do it next week, Yeah, we could do it next week. Yeah, maybe we should do it next week as normal.
Yeah.
Why not?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
See you all.
See you tomorrow already.
All right, cheers.
Yeah.
Wednesday. Oh, yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Wednesday, boy.
Tomorrow,
Three
Wednesday.
days,
Yeah, yeah,
three
yeah.
days
Whole
straight.
day.
Today, tomorrow, and Tuesday. 3 days straight.
It's true. It's true. And we said we have that bang. That's good.
That's
That's
good.
good.
That's good.
Excellent. All right,
All right,
guys.
guys.
All right,
Bye.
Kenneth. Good to see you, Kenneth. Khaled. Good to see you, Bianca. Later.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.